Welcome back to the first year chemical bonding topic. We were studying the types of bonds, and under that one we were studying the first ionic bond. In the ionic bond we have seen the elements with low ionization energy combine with the elements with the high electron gain enthalpy by the transfer of electrons. By the transfer of electron, an element losing the electron will get a positive charge, and the other element which gains the electron will get a negative charge. The attraction between the positive ion and negative ion will result in the formation of the ionic bond. So let us take the same example what we have considered in the previous video. When sodium atom loses an electron to give rise to Na plus, it gets the positive charge, and Cl atom will gain the electron to give rise to Cl minus. Since sodium ion is positively charged and chloride ion is negatively charged, they will attract one another by some force that results in the formation of the solid. So this sodium ion and chloride ion are also present in the solid state. So such a bond which holds the two atoms or two oppositely charged particles by means of attraction is called as the ionic bond, and the compound is named as the ionic compound. In this ionic compound, for the formation of the ionic compound, the factors that are required or that are governing the formation of the ionic bond. The first one is elements should have low ionization energy, should have low ionization enthalpy or ionization energy. Usually we observe that the first and second group elements, they have got the low ionization energy. They give easily the positive ions. So these will give rise to the positive ions. Then the elements should have high electron gain enthalpy. Usually we observe that the 16th and 17th group elements, they have got high electron gain enthalpy. It is nothing but energy released when 1 mole of the electrons are absorbed by 1 mole of atoms. So these will result in the formation of negative ions. Negative ions. The positive ions and negative ions are held by attractive force. And the energy released when positive ion and negative ion combine to form the solid state, the energy released is called as the lattice energy. Lattice energy. That is when 1 mole of positive ions and 1 mole of negative ions combine to form the solid state, solid compounds, ionic compounds. The energy released is called as the lattice energy. So the third condition is lattice energy must be very high. Lattice energy must be high. So these are the three requirements for the formation of the ionic compound. Now let us go for the characteristic properties of the ionic compounds. Characteristic properties of ionic compounds. The first one is, most of the ionic compounds are generally solids. These are generally solids. For example, you take calcium oxide, sodium chloride, potassium bromide, potassium nitrate. All these compounds are solids in nature. Most of the compounds are generally solids, and they have high melting and boiling points. High melting and boiling points. For example, some hundreds together we have the melting points and boiling points of these ionic compounds. Sodium chloride has got more than 200 or so melting point. So usually soluble in polar solvents like water. because of the ions that are present in the solid state. They are attracted by the negative pole and positive pole of the solvent, and hence they are usually soluble in polar solvents. Here you remember one thing. If these ionic compounds are to be considered as the solubility in the solvents, like dissolves like. These are ionic in nature. This is polar solvent. So like dissolves in like. They are insoluble in non-polar solvents. For example, if you put sodium chloride in benzene, toluene, etc., they are insoluble. So they are soluble in polar solvents. The next one is they conduct electricity in either molten state or in aqueous solution. So when you consider this molten ionic compound, it is highly conductive in nature. It conducts electricity. Similarly, in the aqueous solution also, because of the presence of the ions in the aqueous medium, they conduct electricity. So this conduction of the ionic compounds in the molten state or in the aqueous solution is due to the migration of the ions. The next one is the reactions are very fast. Reactions are very fast in usually aqueous solutions. Because of the presence of the ions in the aqueous solutions, they are highly reactive in nature. So this reaction is said to be instantaneous. For example, when you take this sodium chloride in the aqueous medium, react with silver nitrate solution in the aqueous medium. Silver nitrate. Quickly we will get the precipitate of AgCl. As soon as you mix, you will get the solid AgCl. Since this AgCl is insoluble in water, okay, this will get precipitated. So these are some important properties of the ionic compounds. In the next video, we will go for the other type of compound, that is covalent compounds. So in case of the ionic compounds, just you remember the elements with low ionization energy and high electron gain enthalpy lose the electrons and gain the electrons, that is by the transfer of the electrons they give positive and negative ions, and they combine to give rise to solids with release of energy, that is called as the lattice energy. So if this lattice energy is more, that is energy released is more when the solid is produced from the gaseous isolated atom ions, then the compound will be highly stable. And because of this ionic compound containing the positive and negative ions, they are generally held by the strong attractive forces. They are existing in the solid state. The other property that we consider usually is the bonds are non-directional. That means we cannot write the bond between this sodium and chloride ion from sodium to chlorine or chlorine to sodium. It does not exist, since simply positive ion and negative ion are held by attractive force. The bond is non-directional. The next one is solids have got, or ionic compounds have got definite shape. Ionic compounds have definite shape. So some exist in the cubic form, some exist in the trigonal form, some exist in the different types of crystal systems are available. So all these solids exist in different crystal structures. So these are some characteristic properties of the ionic compounds. In the next video, we will go for the covalent compounds. So there are so many theories that we can consider for the explanation of the covalent compounds. And also some requirements as in case of these factors governing the formation, and also some general characteristic properties of the covalent compounds also we consider. And to explain that covalent compounds, during the properties of the covalent compounds we come across some bond characteristics like bond length, bond energy, like that. So this is all about the ionic compounds. Thank you.
ನಿಮಿಷ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ.